What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the RC Dirt Oval podcast. I'm your host, Alfie, and joined with the wonderful, the amazing Tim. What's up, Tim? How you doing?
What's up, guys? How's everybody out there doing?
How you been, man?
Been great.
Yeah?
Another week. I haven't done no races this week, but I just been spending some time with the family and, retuning all my cars and stuff from the long season that we had.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. I got a brief story I'll get into in a second about a long season, but yeah, man, that's good, man. You gotta keep everything balanced. You can't race all the time, and you got to get out and race every once in a while. So enjoy the family and get the cars dialed in. You guys, ultimate run this weekend coming up?
Yes, we do. We are running Sunday.
There you go. Big show or just normal show or?
It's just a normal show. We're just going to try and bang out as many more races as we can for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
The weather that we have.
Now, are you guys doing any more Wednesday nights or is that done?
That's done. They eliminated that because the last one nobody showed.
Oh, okay.
Completely done.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I guess for me, we had at my local track, we had our once a month trophy race, and this one was a Mud Boss exclusive. So we ran the novice class, we ran stock, and we ran 13.5, and we had one of your regulars, Gary, come down, and he ran with us, and yeah, I think the lesson for me that day was I can't get a whole season out of a set of Traxxas tires, or more specifically, the inserts. I just think
they break down pretty quick.
Yeah, they do. And one of the top guys that he and I are always battling out. He was telling me, he's like, yeah, I'm on my third or fourth set of tires for the season, and I'm like, crap, man, I've been running the same set since before April. And I could just watch my car, man. I mean, it was just laying over on that right rear. So I think I just couldn't put any traction down, and I think that's what killed me. I still managed to get third in 13.5, and I was up to second in stock. But me and another guy got tangled up, and he came out of the deal better than I did. And so I think I ended up fifth. I ended up fifth in that, but that's how it goes, man. It was good racing, though. Close, man. The longer the season's gone on, the tighter everybody's gotten, and had some new faces out, So that was
bring us some hard work.
Oh yeah. And for me, I mean, I got another little blicky to throw on the wall, but my son got third in novice, and the two people who beat him were both adults. And when he's the first place kid and still gets a trophy, it's a proud dad moment. So yeah. When are you gonna get your kids running, man? They got any interest?
I do. I have my oldest. She's 9.
Right.
I do have a Mud Boss, and she does practice with it. I just haven't had the opportunity to actually take her there.
Yeah.
And get her running.
Right. I think my plan is next season, my youngest, who will soon be 5, I think I'm going to take one of my old beat up Mud Bosses, and if nothing else next season, let him put some laps in afterwards. Yeah. Try to do the whole grooming thing here and get him started, super early. See what happens. It'd be fun, man. I mean, there's nothing better to me at race day. Trophies are good, winning's good, but seeing new people come out and enjoy it, and seeing the kids having fun, man, that's some of the best things there are.
Yeah, one of my things with race days that I really enjoy. Well, we had talked about this, you and I personally.
Mm.
Building. So when people need help, I like helping them out with soldering new systems in. And, building new cars in general.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's, for me, we get a new guy and, or girl, and, for one of the first things I'm like, hey, man, you want my setup sheet? And they're like, "You're really going to give me that?" And I'm like, "Hey, man, it does me no good for you to get frustrated and never come back. Like that it does nobody any good. So I want to give you all the information you can to be a front runner, you know? Much more exciting that way."
Yeah, that's right of the field. The better competition, it makes you faster, it makes everybody else faster. Helping. I've helped some of my friends at the local track that I run on.
Yeah.
Get some setups, and you give them so much, and then you let them customize it, because everything ultimately, when you build the car and you set it up, it comes down to your eventually it comes down to your driving style. The way you drive is how you have to set your car up. Everybody drives a little different. Some are more aggressive, some are more a little passive.
Right,
You
right.
know, so that's the way it's got to be.
Yeah, I think that was one of the, last season, that was one of the biggest things that I learned and I've, tried to pass along to everybody. There's no silver bullet setup. What works for me might not work for you. I know for me personally, I like a very soft car. I'm never going to be going to, heavyweight oils. I mean, if I'm on carpet or if I'm on, high bite or something like that, okay. But on loose dirt, I want that car to be as soft as possible and respond, transfer weight quickly. That's how I like my cars. And I tell everybody that. You might not like that, but for me, that's how I like them. That's how I like to drive. And, once you realize that my car might not work for you, you figure it out, but here's why I set it up like this.
Yeah.
All right. So here's something that is near and dear to my heart. And I want your input on this. And, anybody listening, you want to, send a message or comment on Facebook, I'd love to get your input too. This year at our local track, we have seen a lot of new faces come, and they'll be there for a month or so. It all varies. 2 weeks, some will be there 6 weeks, and then they just fade away. And I'm wondering, I know it's got to be track specific, but I think this can also carry out to all tracks, because I've noticed it at every track I run at. And I think for our personal situation, I think what us drivers at my track have to do, the better drivers, the ones that are always in contention for the top three, all of us are still running the stock, AKA sportsman class in Mud Boss, because that's always been the biggest class, and we all want to run with the most amount of people. But I think what's ended up happening is we've done it a disservice by, once they move from novice up, unless something terribly goes wrong, the best they can hope for is, fourth, fifth, and on back. And they would have to, let's say we've got 2 years now on that track. They're going to be a long time getting to know the track, getting to know their cars, getting to, progress driving before they're really competitive with us. And I think we've done the track a disservice by continuing to run that class. I think we should have said collectively, hey, let us move on up and run exclusively 13.5, because I think they need a place like an intermediate. You know what I mean? For that intermediate guy, they need a class, and they need a place where they can, they can podium. They can go home with some hardware. And I think the track director has to make it appealing, kind of make the 13.5 the prestigious by, payout or trophy size or, whatever it is. And I reached out to, Eric Salvis, since, the Mud Boss class originated with him, and I wanted to know what they did at his track. And he said it's a struggle for them too. And that's the best thing they've come up with is they do better prizes and everything for the 13.5 to try to entice guys to, hey, come up to the 13.5. But in your experience, Tim, what are some things you've seen that tracks can do and that us racers can do that gives that person that's got 3 months experience an opportunity to take home hardware to get some wins for the betterment of the track? Because I myself, I wouldn't, if I knew that I was going to be going to a track week in, week out, and the best I could hope for was fifth, and I had no other, like lateral class that I could jump to see how that would work, or, I would get discouraged and I would go, you know what? I'm going to find another track, or I'm going to find something else. So I know you've got a lot of experience. What have you seen? What do you think?
Actually, it's funny that you even asked me about the same situation.
Okay.
A friend of mine just started racing probably about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
His name's Ed Herman. He's been, talking to me about racing for probably 5 or 6 years. Never got into it. Always wanted me to, if I ever got the opportunity to get him a car. Always showed an interest, but he started racing finally. He took the plunge, got himself a mud boss because of, low cost.
Yep.
To get into the class. And we're running into the same situation at our track. We got very competitive drivers in all of our classes.
Sure.
And he, slowly progressed for, a couple weeks. And then he started beating himself up about it. He wouldn't have a good day, or he would only get fifth, or wouldn't make the A, something like that. And I had to sit him down, or not necessarily sit him down, but, tell him, Ed, look at who's above you.
Right.
Look at who you're in between. You're actually doing very well. Those guys that are up there and those running those A's all have won or are fighting for those positions. So, yeah, it is tough for somebody who's new to just come into any type of track with little experience.
Right.
I mean, the only thing that I have seen is I just recently raced up at Mount Cobb, and they have 100% novice class.
Okay.
So it's still novice drivers, but instead of being 50-50, it's basically a full-on mud boss, but it's still a novice class.
Okay.
I don't know what all their restrictions are, whether it's age or experience, but there was some younger kids running in it, and there was some older guys. Now, it absolutely looked like a horrible race to be in because they were bouncing up, but they were having fun.
Right.
And that's what mattered.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So that's the only thing that I've seen that's been successful is the way they do it with the 100% novice.
Yeah. And, I know that the core of this concept we're talking about is an age-old debate. I've heard it, from the best of the best, talking about, they like the stock Nats in off-road, like should a pro driver be able to run stock Nats? And the guys the pros who are for it are like, well, running stock is an entirely different animal. Your setup's so much more critical and this, that, and the other. So why shouldn't a pro be able to run it? And then the guys that are against it are going, no, the pros should run mod. That's kind of your class. And let us guys who aren't quite pros yet run stock. And so I know this is it's an age old debate, but like at our track, our novice is full open, and basically we kind of do it on an honor system. I mean, if we see, 3 or 4 weeks in a row that a guy's running consistent pace of, the non-novice class, we go, okay, buddy, it's time for you to move up. But problem with that also is that novice class, it is also the kids class. It's all in one. It's anybody who's just starting, and it's kids. And so, I mean, you might have, 3 wrecks every lap. So it's hard for that kind of like intermediate guy who's not quite up to speed with like the full on stock class, but he's almost being hindered by the amount of wrecks with the kids. So, I don't know. I think sometimes as racers, and I'm guilty of this, man. I'm not excluding myself. I'm guilty of this. For us, our stock class was the biggest class, and I was like, the most guys are in it. It's going to be the most fun. It's going to be the most competitive. That's the class I want to run. And when I should have been, no, I need to stick exclusively with 13.5 and let the intermediate guys have the stock class. Let them be their thing. This be my thing for the betterment of the track. Because now, if this is what truly has happened, great. I beat a bunch of intermediate guys, or us. The collective top runners, we'll say, have beat a bunch of intermediate guys to the point, they're not coming back.
Yeah.
Well, is that something to be proud of? And so, yeah, I don't know, man. I think racers in general, I think we all just need to stop sometimes, take a step back and look at, are we doing, number one, is it still fun for us? And are we doing all we can to help this grow?
Yeah, you might actually be doing a disservice to yourself in the long run, because in 5 years there's going to be less racers because it's not fun, or
yeah,
it's a really, like you said, it's an age-long debate.
Oh, sure. But what's happening down here, or what I'm hearing is, you got this guy who came and raced for a month, and whatever, he's ticked off or he's not happy, he's not winning. Well, he's going to start his own track. And now, this other guy is going to do that. And so, we're running the threat of, instead of, 50 racers at one track, we're going to have, 10 racers at 5 tracks.
Yeah.
And that's no good for nobody, so yeah, that's all I want to say. Racers, myself included, I'm preaching to me on this one. Let's stop, take a step back and see, take ourselves out of the equation. Are we doing the best that we can for the track, for the hobby, for the racers, man? Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Sounds good.
So I got something that, kind of gear related, man. You shared a tire glue rig recently on Facebook.
Yes.
Man, I got to have that thing.
I know. I already put it in my wish list on the Mean Hobbies. I already dropped a hint to my wife.
Yeah.
I said, Christmas, did you look at my Mean Hobbies wish list? And she said, I don't even know how to log into it, or how would I ever buy anything that you would know?
Right.
I said, it doesn't matter. There's stuff on there.
Right.
Race form. I seen it. I've been looking into, I'm not really a setup guy. I really haven't been.
Okay.
Until this year. I've been really focusing on setups. Usually I get a car to a certain point and then I drive or change my driving to the car itself.
Okay.
So this year I've been focusing more on tire, when I balance tires a little better when I'm racing and when I'm gluing them. And actually looking into setup boards. Well, I had seen Raceform release this new laser jig. It's called. It's a 1/10 laser jig off road for it would work for sprint too. It's made by Raceform RC. We'll put a link up on the actual page itself if you guys want to check it out.
Yeah.
It basically peels the tire bead around, kind of like a finger action, and you can just put the bead in there. It even comes with little long tips that are cooked in the end, so that you can just put a nice, consistent bead all the way around, and it just seats it right in there perfectly again.
Yeah.
The videos on it's really awesome.
Dude, I saw it and I was like, you know, I've never been one of those that's had a huge problem gluing tires. I mean, I've seen the horror stories, guys gluing their feet to the floor and the tires to their hands. And thankfully, I've yet to have that problem. But still, I saw that thing. I was like, I got to have that. You know?
I have ruined it. They I think they retail it for $78.90 is what they have on their website.
Okay.
But I think I seen it for $79.99 on A-Main. I'm not sure. No, was it A-Main? No, I forget where I seen it.
Okay.
They have it a couple places. It's around $80 anyways. But I go through $80 worth of shirts in a year. You know, holding a tire against myself and pushing around and it squirts out and I look down and I got, you know, it's not coming off. It's definitely not.
No. Nah, man, that's going to be that's on my Christmas list. And then the other thing I saw that he's been really pushing them, and I thought they look classy, and that's the only reason I will mention them, is ERC Chassis, Evolution Racing Concepts. They're coming out with some really nice slash conversions, man. I don't know if you've seen their stuff recently, but slash, and I think they're doing a Bandit. So you could run Midwest mod or even probably convert that to a late model. Yes. And man, for you guys that are like diehard Traxxas people, check out ERC Chassis because their stuff's looking good. I'd love to talk to Eric sometime because I think everything I've always heard when you go with the Traxxas mid motor, you got to run the Traxxas brushless for some reason because you can't run backwards. I don't know, something like that. But I would love to try a mid motor slash on one of his chassis. I would just love to see how it handles.
Can't just reverse the wires on a brush motor and doesn't it go the opposite direction?
Yeah, there's some I don't want to say wrong.
I'm not sure.
I've heard there's some reason you can't.
I've done it, but I don't know if you can do it on Traxxas motors.
Well, I know
never on Traxxas motor, so
I think the Traxxas that VXL or whatever it is, because it's not censored. I think you can. I think it's something to do with a censored motor. Maybe the sensor boards. I don't know. I'm going probably somebody right now is flipping out, listening, going, "You idiots!" You know, it's because. But hey, man, sorry. Send me a message. You know, leave a comment, whatever. But I there's something.
Just trying to get information out there.
Yeah, and then the last thing, and my buddy Russ Williams is going to laugh at this. If anybody's looking for a new radio, right now, if you go and send a friend request to Tim Smith of the TSR podcast and the renowned RC drag racer and speedrun guy, he's a Gropner driver, and he's got a promotion right now somehow where you can get Gropner's new flagship radio with some type of coupon code for $2.99 shipped, and you get a free hat, and the radio comes with a case and all that for $2.99. And the receivers, man, are like $29. I mean, it's ridiculous. I've got such a crush on this radio. I want this radio so bad. I don't need a radio. I just want this radio, man. I love this thing. I will own it before the year's out. Trust me. Have you seen it? The X8? I
have not. You're going to have to send me a link on that.
Oh, buddy. I might, you know what? I think I'm going to actually see if I can get that link from Tim and put it on our Facebook page. Because I'm telling you, man, I mean, this thing's up there with the M12 and the 4PX and $2.99 with a case. I mean, it's a deal. Oh. Yeah. So we're going to take a short break. And guess what, kids? We're coming back with a guest. Be surprised. Welcome back, everybody. We are joined in our virtual studio with someone, if you've been around us a long time, I'm sure you've heard the name, seen him around, Mr. Matt Perrier. What's up, Matt?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Man, I'm good. Dude, I just want to say thanks for taking the time to come on and hang out with us and just have some general chit chat.
Hey man, definitely. I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah. So, for those who might not know who you are and your place in, RC, tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I actually started RC racing at the ripe age of 5. My dad and my brother and I, Mike Perrier, we tried to convince our dad to buy us a micro sprint, and he was afraid that we would get hurt. So our consolation was an RC car. So we started racing oval on clay in about 1988.
Okay.
From there, we pretty much we ran a lot of off-road primarily around here. Whenever I was growing up, off-road was the big ticket. It was mainly oval during the winter.
Okay.
Just because of the smaller size track and not as much room needed. But off-road was always my passion. I loved off-road racing. I took a quasi-retirement when I got a little older and girls became more important.
Yes, sir.
So I didn't race for, I'd say, probably close to 10 years. And when I finished college in 2008, my brother convinced me that I needed to get back into the hobby. So, and here we have been ever since.
Okay. So back in the 80s, so where are you from originally?
I'm Tulsa, Oklahoma, boys, where I've been in the Tulsa Broken Arrow area my whole life.
Okay. Did you in the 80s, did you travel any? I mean, for any of the big races?
We didn't do a whole lot.
Okay.
Back at the time, we pretty much raced locally. Our dad did take us to Oklahoma City. There's a track called RCRC that had 2 Norca Nats for off-road back in 96 and 98. And we did go to those races.
Okay. Because I know I'm in Delaware, and I want to say it was in West Virginia. I remember hearing about it. There was a big dirt oval annual race. I think it was in West Virginia that, like, back then in the 80s, RC Car Action would come out and cover it. And I didn't know if you'd ever made it out to that.
No, I did not, unfortunately. It sounds like it would have been a blast, though.
Yeah. I mean, it was, because for me, we were just running. I mean, dude, we were running ghetto stuff, just gold. We were running gold pans with probably Parma bodies, dirt modified bodies. And then I picked up an RC Car Action, probably had Joel Johnson on the cover or something crazy, but I picked it up and, I'm flipping through it and it showed like this massive dirt oval race. And I'm going, wow, this is a real thing, and it was so exciting. And, thankfully a lot of walls have been torn down with the internet. And so now it's a little easier to get coverage of dirt oval out to people. But, it's still so vastly undercovered in my opinion, for what it is. It's off-road still king.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's definitely a small niche community, which I think is awesome because, everyone seems to kind of know each other, or at least knows, they're a couple degrees of separation from each other. And it makes for a fun time going to races now whenever I do get to travel, because there's very rarely that I'll go to a track where I don't show up and at least see 1 or 2 people that I recognize.
Right. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it for me. I just go to a track that I've never been to before, and inevitably, there's somebody there. Hey. And it's just, as soon as that happens, it's like I feel right at home and just that much more comfortable. And I love it. So what do you got? What are you running right now? Where do you race at? What classes are you running?
Well, actually, the January of this year, we kind of, the track locally that we race at primarily is called Adams Creek. It's been around for a long time. It's gone through many different phases in its time. It's been a oval track, off-road track, tri-oval dirt, asphalt, carpet, pretty much any kind of track you can think of, off-road, loose dirt, clay off-road, pretty much anything. Mm-hmm. And right now it's all oval. We actually in January started working with a couple of guys and actually run the track now. My brother and myself are kind of, I say we run it. We're just the guys that sit at the podium. It's all the guys that are there that run it.
Right.
We just try to not get in the way and let everybody have a good time.
Yeah.
But that's our home track. We have an indoor track, indoor oval, and outdoor oval as well.
Okay.
We don't like to call it loose dirt because there's not a whole lot of loose dirt racing right now, but it's all rubber tire stuff.
Right. Okay. Okay. Even inside?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And in terms of classes, since, we've kind of been going through a bit of a transition in car brand, we actually right now, the only thing I have is a sprint car. A gentleman by the name of Christopher Theodore at our track allowed me to borrow a Plan B Bandit 6. So that's what I've been running for the moment. I have a AFX short course mod on the way.
Okay.
And then a couple of other little things in the works.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen you, what was it you were looking for? 8th scale? You think about doing the 8th scale?
Yeah, I loved 8th scale. When I first came back, that's when the Nitro 8th scales were huge.
Right.
And that was my favorite class. And kind of seeing it being resurrected now, it's brought back some good memories. So I spoke with a couple of guys at the track last week. And I'm going to see if I can't get something put together. Right.
So also for, everybody listening that might not know you, you've ran Chili Bowl, right? I mean, that's kind of semi-regular for you? Or
yeah, I pretty much every year that I ran it about 2 or 3 years in a row. I wasn't able to go last year, but
okay.
I should be back this year.
What is it? What's the other big annual? King of Wings? Do you run that?
We haven't ran King of Wings. There's a race called North-South Shootout in Muskogee, Oklahoma that we try to hit. We didn't have cars this year, so we weren't able to race in it. But there's that race. There's the Kansas Dirt Oval Championship. And then there's a race that we usually try to hit. It's called the Boogeyman over in Willard, Missouri.
Okay.
Those are when we get to travel now, those are the races that are kind of, if I get to travel, those are the definite races I want to hit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, touching on the Chili Bowl, there was some drama this year. They've changed the format, I guess. They've added a day and removed a class. Mm-hmm. Is that going to have any bearing on your desire to go, or you don't really care? You just go and have fun?
Yeah, for me, RC racing, if I can do well, that's great. But at the end of the day, I'm there for the people, to hang out with guys that I don't get to see very often. So it doesn't really impact my decision personally.
Yeah.
I've never been a person that is anti 1/8 scale. So, to me, it wasn't like, oh yeah, they're gone kind of a moment. It was, I hope it doesn't change people's desire to come to the race. Mm-hmm. The adding the day thing, I personally would have added it at the front end instead of the back end. But I'm not apprised to all the conversations or maybe what the availability of the arena is. So I don't know, what went into that. But
right.
If it was up to me, I probably would have added it on Monday or whatever day would have been earlier, as opposed to Saturday, just because I know a lot of the guys that come from out of town like to spend the entire Saturday at their big Chili Bowl.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that would make logical sense to me. So are you going to try to attend this year, or you don't know yet?
As long as work cooperates, yes, I will be there.
Okay.
I'm at about 95% right now that I'll be able to be there. I already put the bug in the boss's ear last year that I was going to try to attend. So I don't see why I wouldn't be able to.
Okay. Awesome. Well, here's the thing. So a person, you've ran Chili Bowl, you've been competitive. I want to go. It's on my list. I don't think this year's going to happen. But I'm going to try to do it the following year. So for somebody who's never been to the Chili Bowl, I've heard horror stories of, you need to go with, if we're talking sprint class, you need to go with, 20, 30 sets of tires. It's exhausting. It's, I guess I've heard horror stories. What's your take on all of that? Like, if I called you up and said, Matt, I want to make the Chili Bowl this year, what should I expect? What would you say?
Well, I will say that there have been years in the past where the track did get, abrasive and started taking rubber. But, it also is dependent upon, how they're trying to get the stuff done, if they're trying to get the show in or, whatnot. But the last couple of years, I would definitely say that those horror stories are inaccurate.
Okay.
I think, obviously I didn't get to race in it last year, but the year before, I always try to be over prepared in terms of tires. So I went in with several sets, but I don't think I used more than 3 sets per car.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Throughout the entire week. And that's, practice tires, race tires, everything.
Well, okay. So that's not too bad.
Not when you think about over the course of, 4 days or 5 days of running, and again, it all depends on how you want to do it. A lot of people, they'll ghost tires. And so naturally, if you do that, then you're going to have a lot less run time than as if you just go out with them brand new.
Right.
But I typically tell people if you're going to go to the Chili Bowl, have 3 sets of tires per car. I don't expect that you'll need all 3, but at least that way, that gives you the freedom that if you go out and practice or even maybe in the first heat and you get out and you go, okay, this set of tires is right where I want it, put those to the side and save them for main day. And then, start working on other tires.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk, if you got time, let's talk gear for a minute. Because I know Tim, he's not saying a whole lot, but Tim's a builder. He's a gearhead. I geek out over gear. I have, stuff that I don't even need. But I just love gear. So what are your favorite cars, class wise? And we don't have to get into, manufacturers or anything. Do you have preferences over motor brands, speed controller bands, radios? Just what's your overall setup?
Well, in terms of classes, my favorite classes are sprint, as well as around here, short course mod.
Okay.
I know that in hearing you all last week, you're not necessarily the biggest fans of the short course classes.
Yeah.
But yeah, but
I have fun on them.
Yeah, it's something that I enjoy. I just think it requires a little bit different of a driving style than doing a buggy based car. So I like that, having to learn in different ways of driving and having to, constantly think about what you're doing, I guess, not able to just get in one mode and go. So I like that class. I used to like a class that we call a lot of people called it B mod or Kansas Dirt Modified.
Yeah.
That was a class that was big for a long time. I truly love that class. I wish that was one that would come back. But in terms of gear, I run Futaba stuff. So I have a Futaba 4PK-SR as my radio right now. I'm looking forward to the 7PX coming out.
Okay.
So looking for something to get me for Christmas.
Yeah. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, right?
Yeah.
Well, so I do have a question about that radio because I've seen it and I'm going, why does somebody need 7 channels running, dirt oval? What's the appeal of that radio to you?
I just think I like the idea of the bigger screen. That's the main reason for me. The screen on the 4PKSR is a little small. And I like the color aspect of it for me. I think a lot of the settings and stuff will be overkill for oval.
Yeah.
But I think it's just one of those that if there's ever something that comes out or, a trend that people are starting to do that help, then at least I'll have it there ready and be able to use it then.
Okay. Yeah, well, hey, man, I just got to give a quick plug, man. Those Gropner radios, man, they look good.
Yeah, they do. They really do. Whenever I was looking at chargers a little while back, I was looking at their chargers. Those are pretty impressive as well.
Yeah, well, we did a little chit chat before we got you in here, and RC drag racer Tim Smith, he's a Gropner guy. And he's got a promotion right now for their flagship radio, which is normally like $379. He's got a link that he set up, and you can get it for $299. And I'm so tempted. I mean, I'm itching to buy it. I don't need it, You know, I mean, because I got so many Futaba receivers, and I'm just like, man, you make the switch over, but it's a gorgeous radio, you know?
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand completely. The toys are always tempting.
Yeah.
But I guess in terms of speed controllers, I run Hobby Wing Speedos.
Okay.
I haven't made the jump to the new stuff yet. I'm still on the 3.1 Pros. But that's the speed controllers that I run in my cars.
Okay.
I run all Phantom motors. Obviously I have a 6.5 in my sprint car at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But then, run obviously the different sizes depending on the class I'm in.
Okay.
And then in terms of steering servos, again, a Futaba.
Okay.
9551 is my go-to steering servo.
Okay.
So I run that in all of my cars. Phantom batteries as well.
Okay.
And then in terms of tires, we run AKA.
Gotcha. Something I always like to ask people. What charger do you use?
The iCharger.
Okay.
406 Duo.
Okay. And what is your theory on, high amperage charge discharge? Myth or true?
Man, I don't know. I would like to tell you that I'm the guru and all this stuff, but I'm not a very good liar. I'm scared of it, to be honest with you. I don't want to. I'm a little bit of a cheapskate in terms of having to buy things unnecessarily.
Right.
So I don't want to run a battery. So I think I charge my batteries at 9, and then I discharge at the standard. I think 2. I don't.
Oh wow. Okay, you are conservative.
I have the fear in me when it comes to lipo fire. So
okay, all right.
I think he's conservative. You should watch me try and charge myself.
What do you charge it, Tim?
5. That's it.
Oh my gosh.
I go up to 20, but I only charge at 5. I don't. It's like time. You don't need to push it that hard. You have plenty of time sometimes where you're racing.
Yeah.
I typically try to think about how many classes I'm running, and I'll try to have enough batteries charging consistently, so that way I'm never in a situation where I need to push it. So I'll always have. Pretty much by the time I get off the track with a car, I have a new battery that's just charged and ready to go in. So I don't really have the need to go crazy high.
Yeah. Well, see, for us here on the East Coast, man, all the classes are 17.5. Most of them are blinky. And, somebody, well, I've heard it from tons of people, but somebody that I trust told me, okay, for that extra little punch, the night before a race, do 3 cycles of 20 up and 20 down. And that's been my race routine now. And do I know if I'm getting any extra punch? I don't know, but it's what I do. I've not had a fire yet. I mean, I know some of these cats I race with, they're hitting the full 40, and I'm like, whew. I know I'm pushing it at 20, man, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot for me. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't bring myself to do that. I've heard stories, and I'm sure you all as well, of people that they warm their batteries and do all that kind of stuff, and that's kind of part of the reason why I'm a huge proponent on running open classes. Yeah. Just because it gets rid of that need to go spend $200 on a motor that's quadruple certified with, bearings with unicorn blood and all the other things that people try to buy.
Right now.
Well, you have to, though. I mean, that's the thing is, if you want to, because if you don't, then the guy sitting next to you is going to.
Exactly.
So it kind of forces everybody's hand if they want to be to the top.
Oh, it absolutely does, man. And I mean, at my local regular track, we've been down the motor war path, and it's, if it wasn't the motor war path, it was, the battery path, and it was the tire path, and it's, dude, I'm all about it. Bring on open. Really am.
Yeah. I've always been a guy that if you're going to have a spec class, if it's a big, like a trophy race type of thing, then the motor and speed controller included in the entry.
Yep.
So that way everybody's on the same thing. And if it's just a regular deal, weekly show where you have spec, I don't like the motor of the. I think Matt Murphy calls it the motor of the day type deal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of a believer of you should pick a date, whether that be January 1st, and whatever motors are legal at that point are all you can run for that year. You can't, but it's just crazy, the motor game.
Oh man, I don't carpet race as much anymore, but I remember last winter, the Team Scream, the one motor. I mean, guys were getting, because you couldn't get them, and so if somebody had one, I mean, they were getting $250 for them, and I'm going, guys, I mean, wow. But
yeah,
hey, if somebody threw one up on a classified page, 5 minutes, it was gone.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So another brief thing that we were talking about, and since you've been around this game forever, I want to get your opinion. We were dealing with the premise of newer racers, and I called him in the earlier segment the intermediate racer, guy who's been, racing maybe a month or 3 months, whatever it is, and trying to feel his way out, and learn setup, learn all that, learn how to drive. And like at my track, we have novice, and then we go right to stock. And a lot of people, myself included at times, have viewed stock just like a lot of people view stock and off-road. It's for the pro driver, it's for the learning driver, it's for everybody. It's not a, pros aren't excluded. And what I think has happened recently is guys have come, they've ran, they've realized, okay, I'm not going to win. I don't have a chance of winning. The top, say 5 guys, 4 guys, they're the same every week. I'm way off pace. Yes, I can probably catch them, but it's going to take me a year, And so I've been doing some soul searching. I've been trying to help the track owner, what can we do to keep those, to retain those new racers, and I've made the decision for myself that, regardless of what's happening, I'm not running stock anymore. I'm going to move up to the next class up. Even though I've been running both, I'm just going to drop the one, and I'm going to ask, a lot of our other regulars, hey guys, let's drop that and let's give this as a place for the intermediate guy so that he can have some, limelight and, some trophies and all of that. But in your experience, have you ever run into that at tracks where there's no really like in between, you start off and you're either rookie or you're thrown with the big dogs, and what can be done? What have you ever seen that, has been done to help?
Yeah, I think especially on a weekly basis, I'm guessing it's probably an issue at a lot of places. One of the things that I used to notice, and not having been around off-road a lot recently, I don't know if they still do, but off-road is really good about having like a sportsman class and then an expert and then factory kind of a deal.
Right.
And I feel like oval in general could really use that, to where you kind of, because we've talked about the same thing. We have people at our track that, they're running the rookie class, but they're far too talented to be in rookie. But if we throw them into 410 sprint, they're going to get bored. They're not going to have as much fun. So, in terms of a class, I feel like there needs to be some level of a sportsman class or something, even if it's the same thing. Just kind of group them together. I really wish that there was a way that we could get in front of everyone that is thinking about getting into the hobby and try to, kind of sway their purchase, purchase decision from the beginning.
Right.
Because we see a lot of people that show up with a sprint car, and, no offense to sprint cars, but they're probably the more difficult to drive of the ones that we run in oval.
Oh, sure.
And I don't think that helps either, because I think a lot of people, they want to go fast, and it's hard to get traction and hard to get a car to be consistent. And I've always been a proponent of the Slash when it comes to come to someone being new. I think that it's a good car that, it's durable and it's forgiving. So I've always been a proponent of that. And then you can kind of transition that into a B mod, short course B mod type class before you go to full fledged short course mod.
Right. Well, but then and I'm sure we're not alone in this. The problem that we run into is, on like a club level night, we'll call it, we have low car counts. And so, we got, 3 guys, 4 guys running, the expert class, we'll call it. And we got 3 guys running, the sportsman. And then we got 2 guys running the novice. And it's like, oh, well, let's all just run together. And so we got in this habit of that, of going, well, let's just put everybody together. It just makes it easier, but forgetting, when it come time for the bigger events, when guys travel in and everything else, that, we need to break back apart, or, whatever. And it's tough. I told Tim earlier, I myself, and I'm asking, all my local racers and anybody else really, as a racer, try to step back at times and think about, what's for the best for the class, what's the best for your track, and what's the best for the hobby, because I don't know if down your way or over your way it's happening, but in our area, East Coast, Northeast, it really feels like we're back in an RC boom again. But what we're facing is, man, guys, come and they get disgruntled and they start their own track and they take, 10, 20 of your racers away. And, man, that's my fear, because I'd much rather go to one track with 50 racers than, 5 with 10.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And I don't know how many tracks you guys have in your area, but I think, from where I'm at, if I drove in any direction 3 hours, I would probably come across 6 to 8 tracks.
Yeah.
That are all running oval. And so there's a lot of tracks for people to choose from. And so, that kind of brings up a lot of stuff, even beyond just the classes, but then you're dealing with trophy races a lot. And, pretty much any given weekend, you can drive somewhere and find a trophy race. So that in itself creates another issue for the kind of the local crowd. But no, I think you're right. I think I remember in off-road back in the day, you had stock and mod truck, stock and mod buggy, stock and mod 4-wheel drive, and that was the classes. And I think it made it easier, because then you kind of had, back at least here, we kind of had the faster guys in the mod class and the newer guys in the stock classes. And it kind of naturally created the stepping stones, I guess you could say. But
right.
In oval, I think we've gotten to where, we have sprint, we have short course mod, we have NAS truck, short course NAS truck, short course late model, Midwest
right.
mod, late model. And there's just so many different classes on a weekly basis that it kind of, makes the pool pretty shallow in all the classes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what, I was talking with my track owner the other day, and I'm like, well, we could start a street stock class. We could do this, but what do we do on the nights, club nights that, they don't show up? It's hard to keep a class running, and one guy shows up, by himself, and it's, yeah, it's tough.
Because what happens then is you got that one guy that's the only one that shows up. Then he's like, oh, well, nobody else is going to run this class. I'm going to get rid of my car, one less car sitting around and get money off of. So then next thing you know, the whole class is completely gone.
Yeah, we kind of saw not really a resurgence, but the wingless sprint class kind of took off over at our track right after the Chili Bowl. And, the few weeks after the Chili Bowl, we probably had, 6, 8, 10 of them at times. And then, 2 months after that, it was down to 3, down to 4, and then 2, and then it just kind of went away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the opportunity to run, when USAC was here in PA, at our track, they had a double points week for our sprint class. They did a winged main and then a wingless main. So basically, just take your wings off and run your second main. So that was kind of cool. I did enjoy running wingless. It was definitely different.
It's way different, isn't it?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, you gotta get used to running off the rear end of the car.
Yep.
I have not tried wingless, and I don't know if I have the desire, honestly.
Oh yeah, it's just like driving a street stock. You have no traction in the back, and The car feels totally different.
All right, Matt. One last question for you, man. So, in your years of experience, you show up to a track that you've not yet driven on, and you don't have any, local support there, so you don't have a base set up. So, on your, all your cars, and let's just, for the sake of this, say that you can make basically the same adjustments to all your cars. What is the, excluding tires, what's the first thing that you're going to look at to go, okay, this is going to be my most vital piece of setup tonight that I need to focus on? What's the first thing?
I mean, in terms of like actually what I would adjust on the car, or like what?
Yeah. So,
okay.
Well, so you show up and you're like, okay, the track's got less bite than I thought it was going to have, or whatever. From track to track, what are you changing the most? Is it, like springs, or is it, rear steer? Is it, what do you probably touch the most on your car?
Well, I think a lot of us have become kind of, held to the rear adjustable rear arms in a lot of our cars.
Right.
It's just real simple to go down and add a little bit of toe, or take some out depending on what your car does. So I think, that's one place that I'll go. But I also, I try to mess with droop a lot. And there's a guy at our track that I was having a little bit of issue with his car. It was getting in real well, and through the middle of the turn, it rotated beautifully. But then when he would go to get on gas, coming out of the turn, it would just want to, lose the rear end. And so I went over and told him to give himself more front droop, and, told him how much to do. And he came back out and ran it and was like, okay, yeah, this is working. So I think droop is something that, because of the rear arms being adjustable now, a lot of people forget about at times.
Sorry, man, I'm just writing all this down.
Nice.
Yeah, no, hey, man.
My Sprint had that same exact issue 1 week. Rotated, came in the corners quick, rotated beautifully through the corner. As soon as it would just want to step out as soon as I got it, a little pout. That was the same thing I did to change it, and it tightened it up a little bit, made it a whole lot more stable.
Yeah, definitely. And the beauty of it, when you're adjusting droop, is, to me at least, it feels like it minimizes the negative on the opposite side. Because a lot, if you go to adding toe, then you may have more entry steering, but you're going to lose traction on exit, and vice versa. I feel like with droop, when you're adjusting that, you kind of get the ability to fix what's wrong without hurting on the other side of it.
Yep.
Man, that's so okay. Along the same vein, then I know you've worked with Matt Murphy, ran for Murph Dog. So for me personally, his tuning guide that he put out, right? Like that's like my go-to thing. How much information collectively have you and Matt, through the years, collected? I mean, has either one of you been the mentor to each other? Have y'all collectively just thrown any ideas at each other?
Oh, no, I definitely, he's been a mentor to me, by far.
Yeah.
I kind of, have been mildly successful at racing just off of the ability to a lot of people, the trigger finger is one of the most important things of an RC car.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think that's where they can mess themselves up. And I think, just being able to not give too much throttle at times has helped me, win some races that I probably shouldn't have. But then when I started working with Matt, he's the one that started opening my eyes to a lot of the different things that I never thought about. Mm-hmm. And some of the times it was stuff that whenever he would say it, I go, yeah, I probably look pretty stupid that I didn't know about that. But no, he truly is that tuning guide that he wrote up. It's helped a lot of people. And I think if you have one piece of literature you take to an RC track with you, I think that is the one piece you should take everywhere you go.
Oh, dude, it's in the side of my pit box, and I mean, it gets wore out. And, I tell all the new people that show up. We have a pretty famous track, indoor high bite called Bumps and Jumps, and they have an oval guide on their website, and it's real simplistic, right? You know, I mean, it doesn't get into anti-squat and droop. But it's the basics, you know, right front, is pivot, loosen it. And so I tell everybody, hey, first week, start with Bumps and Jumps guide, right? It's going to give you some basic theories. And then after like a month, I'm like, okay, now you're ready for some red meat. Here's Matt Murphy's book. Now, read this, and then when you think you've got all that figured out, if you just want to get some more perspective, since you're probably going to be running like buggy based cars, go to Pettit's stuff and look through their buggy information. Yes, it's off-road, but still, it's a buggy, and you'll get some buggy specific things from that stuff. But yeah, dude, between him and I mean, this is just going to sound geeky, between his book and then Arnie did like a series of 6 or 7 videos. Somebody filmed him when he was doing a setup clinic for Custom Works at the Chili Bowl. Between those two things, man, I've worn out. Yeah, I'm thankful
Where were you
that
guys at the beginning of the year, man? I switched over to Dirt Oval and didn't know anything.
Yeah, he's and you've come right to the front, man. So yeah, Matt Murphy's been a big help to everybody, man.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Don't tell him that, but
edit that part out.
Yeah, exactly. He's a good guy when he wants to be. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
No, we actually, I mean, we've had the luxury of working with Matt quite a bit. We're still going to work with him in the future on some stuff. And then he's talked to my brother and I a little bit. We're hoping, and this is not in any way to say this will happen tomorrow, but we'd like to get his guide. We're trying to work on getting his setup guide into an app.
Oh.
So that's one of the things that we're hoping to get going.
Heck yeah.
I think, yeah. It'll make it easier for everybody, right?
Dude, hey man, Associated, don't they have like a setup app and it's like $1.99 or something like that? I don't know. I'd pay $1.99 or $2.99 to have that thing on my phone.
Cheat sheet.
Yeah, that's what it is. AE cheat sheets. Yeah.
Yep, that's. I use that for off-road a lot, or when I was getting back into it, and got a lot.
Yeah, man, shoo! If that thing was an app on my phone, man, you got me excited now.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can get it going. There's a lot to do. We've shot around different ideas on what would make the most sense on how to how it should look, and in terms of like flow charting and stuff, how it would make the most sense.
Whew. Man.
I have some ideas, but when I first started mentioning it, my brother and Matt kind of looked at me like, that's great if you want to do that. But I was kind of like version 8, kind of a thought process, as opposed to like getting a version 0.1 kind of going.
Yeah. Well, look, Matt, I don't want to keep you up all night, man. Dude, I just want to say thanks. Thanks again, man, for taking your time. It's been a pleasure. I've got a lot out of it. Hopefully everybody else has. Tim, do you have anything else for Matt?
No, Matt, it was nice meeting you. Good to have you on the show. Thanks for all your input.
Yeah, man, definitely, guys. I appreciate it. It was a blast to talk with you all, and hope to see you guys at a track soon.
Dude, yes. 2019 Chili Bowl, man. That's when I want to do it.
Well, if you guys just get the desire to come to Oklahoma and run a race, let me know. We have a race coming up at our track in November that we would love to have you guys at.
Oh, right on. Well, hey, man, yeah. Look, before we say our final goodbyes, and do you have anything you want to plug? Anybody you want to thank? I mean, the mic is yours, dude.
Oh man. I'd like to thank my dad. No, honestly, we have a race coming up November 25th. It's the Saturday after Thanksgiving. It's a race that hits close to home for our family. We have a nephew that has cystic fibrosis. And so the race we're actually using as a fundraiser to donate money to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So we're going to have, an awesome event there. We're working on getting all the details finished up in terms of classes and things of that sort. But it's at Adams Creek, which is in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, 5201 South 194th East Avenue. And hope to get a good crowd there.
Awesome, man. And I'm assuming Adams Creek's on Facebook and all the other interwebs.
It sure is. Yeah, it's on there as well. There's another website, ovalracers.club.
Okay.
It's the club that actually oversees Adams Creek facility. It's something we started earlier this year. We're hoping to fill the void that we've kind of had from DODC kind of going down. So it's something that, we're creating a club atmosphere where all the rules for the club are voted on by the drivers in the club.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're hoping to spread that out to other classes or other tracks, I should say, throughout the country. Trying to unify rules so that way, if you're wanting to go to a race, you can go on the website, see what tracks, and your cars are all legal.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our goal. And it's in its infancy at the moment, but hoping to see that spread out later as we go.
Legit, man. What I wouldn't give for a national rule system.
Well, we hope to be there eventually.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Matt, I appreciate it. It was a pleasure. Tim, as always, it was a pleasure. Tim, I will catch you next week. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Find us on Facebook, like us, share us on your podcast provider, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean. Rate us, review us, share us with your friends. That's a wrap, guys.